For more Magic the Gathering resources, check out my friends at paperchampion.net and Kitchen Table MTG.
Alright, so we're playing Pucatrade again today. And let's see what we got. Alright, so a 3-lander's pretty good. Double Fog Bank, Detention Sphere. Okay, yeah, we could do this. And eventually get Monastery Siege up. Alright, we can keep. We'll see how we do against our opponent here. So we're going to go turn 1 plains. I have no turn 1 play anyways. So turn 1 plains, turn 2 Glacial Fortress, then to Wall of Omens probably. And then hopefully pick up a card, another land, get a Fog Bank out. Depending if my opponent plays a threat, I might play Monastery Siege. So just planning out my first couple turns here. So if my opponent does play a big threat, then a Memnite. Oh, alright, so that's a nice Memnite. Wow, okay. So here's Affinity playing out their hand. Alright, so well, Detention Sphere might be good. Signal Pest, wow. Alright. Let's see, what do we have here? Alright, I think I need to try and get that online here. I need to get my mana online, so I need to try and survive for a few turns. Venser is not what I needed. Okay. Next turn I can try and get a Fog Bank out and block, create a blocker. If my opponent might have, wow, okay. Wow, alright, well, I guess I'll have to block Frogmite. Okay, we'll block Frogmite. Alright. Come on, land. Ugh, Oblivion Rings are pretty good. Let's get rid of... Oh, I can't get rid of anything. I don't have the mana for it. Alright, Fog Bank. Alright. So, got some blockers. So, let's see what they have here. I'd rather be able to pick up 2 more lands here, maybe try and survive a little longer, and then get a Ghostfire Blade. Ugh, alright. Okay. So, let's see. I'd like to be able to go a little bit longer here and get and be able to get a Supreme Verdict down. If I can do that, then I'm pretty in a pretty strong position. Alright. Okay, so let's see, we're gonna block here, and block, oh, actually, Signal Pest is a flyer. Okay, unblock. Let's see, is he unblockable for some reason? Yeah, that's fine. So, there we go. Alright. There we go. So, we're still taking a bit of damage here. Still 4. Alright, land. Give me some lands. Okay. Please land. Oh. Alright, well, now do I do Journey to Nowhere, or do I do Fog Bank? Fog Bank gives me another blocker. Yeah, I think I go Journey to Nowhere and take a Signal Pest. Okay. Alright, that Signal Pest is a pain. Alright, so next turn, if I get a land, I'll go... Oh, I'll go Oblivion Ring on that, and then if I don't get a land, then I'll go Fog Bank. Just relentless here. Okay. So, Frogmite. Alright, I can take no damage on this one. Okay. Land. Oh, still have to pay 2 life for it. Yes. Okay, so let's go Oblivion Ring, targeting Signal Pest. Okay. Alright. Oh, thank goodness. Alright, next turn, what I could do is cast Detention Sphere and grab all his Ornithopters. Right, so see how we do with that. Or I could just Supreme Verdict and just kill him with that. Right, but anyways, I'm glad I got rid of those 2 Frogmites. That's a pain. Alright, so what does my opponent have? Casting something. Steel Overseer. Ooh, I gotta get rid of that. Putting counters on creatures you control is awful. Alright, especially because he's got so many of them. Alright, so we'll go Detention Sphere on that. Okay. Oh no! I missed my declared blocker stage. I got distracted by my children. Oh no. Okay. Flooded Strand's okay. Yeah, let's do this. Pay 1 life. Sacrifice Flooded Strand. Let's get an untapped land. And we'll just get a Plains. Or an island. That's fine. So... Supreme Verdict. Alright. Alright. Looking better now. Alright. So... Does my opponent have anything? So next turn I can get down Monastery Siege, assuming my opponent doesn't put anything down. Okay, sure. Okay, and I think for the mode I will select for Monastery Siege is draw an additional card. Suppose your opponent that target you or a permanent you control. Yeah, I'll choose cons. Then I start looting. Alright. Let's see, that's a 3 mana card. That's a 1 mana card. Okay. Okay, so let's go and play out Monastery Siege. We'll choose cons. And play Hallowed Fountain. No. Alright. Alright, there we go. So we survived the initial onslaught of Affinity, and I think we're looking pretty good, actually. Man. My opponent just doesn't have very many creatures. If he puts anything down, I can Detention Sphere it, and then I can start looking for my Fog Bank, or my Puca's Mischief, and start trading up for it. Alright. So, what do we have? Okay, opponent. 1 card in hand. Do they have anything that can kill me? Vault Scourge, Flying, Lifelink, sure, okay. Alright. Okay. A Venser. Okay. Discard a Venser. Alright. So we will go and pay 3. Actually. Yeah. Let's pay 3 for Detention Sphere. We'll take his Vault Scourge. Okay. Yes. Alright, and let's get our Fog Bank out. Okay. I think we're looking pretty good here. So if our opponent doesn't drop a creature, I can always cast Venser and start ticking it up. Alright, ticking him up, get some more land, or get lands online or something. Alright, good. Opponent's empty-handed. Sweet. Oh, that is awesome. Okay, I will discard Bronze Bombshell. Alright, let's go and get... let's get Puca's actually, let's get Venser out. Okay, and we'll immediately exile target permanent. Let's go Plains. Alright. Alright, sweet. Looking good. I can't believe this is actually coming together. I was kind of afraid when I saw Affinity. Next turn, I'll get Puca's Mischief out, and then I'll be able to start trading for all their stuff. Every time they put something out, I'll be able to steal it. Okay, so do they have anything? I got a Fog Bank to protect my Venser. I have Puca's Mischief now. That eventually, I'll be able to steal all their creatures. Okay, so opponent, do you have anything? He's probably wondering how I'm gonna win. They're probably wondering like how the hell I'm gonna actually win this one. I have like no win conditions here. All right. So just waiting for my opponent to play. So I've been waiting for a little while. I just put the video on pause. But I think that I have a salty Affinity player here. I hope that's not the case. But they're just sitting there holding one card in their hand. If it's a creature, like obviously they should just play it out. If it's not a creature, like I don't think Affinity really plays any other spells. They should just, if it's a land, they might want to hold it or whatever. But I think that they're just like timing out now because they just don't want to play anymore. They're just going to try and make me wait the 10 minutes to time me out. I really hope that's not the case, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to make you wait for it. I'll just wait here. See the timer is at 18 minutes for my opponent, and I'll just come back when either my opponent plays or the time expires. All right, so we'll see what happens. Man, I can't. Oh, they just disconnected. Oh, they just left the game. Oh, I think it's a salty Affinity player. Oh man. It's so funny because like Affinity is like a really good deck. This is like I don't often agree with Desolator Magic, but sometimes he has a good point. Is that sometimes people like they get a good deck like Affinity here, and they probably spend some good money on it and everything, and they just think that they should win all the time, right? But they forget that there's always decks that can beat you, especially certain archetypes are good against you. Like this archetype, Pucatrade, even though it's like I kind of made it up, so there's not really anyone that knows it that regularly plays this. But this kind of deck is just really well suited against Affinity, right? Just capture all your creatures. They're playing a lot of low cost stuff, so I can just trade up for all your creatures. Like trade all your stuff eventually. Like if I can just survive your initial onslaught, I think it even gets better in sideboarding. So I think overall, like they just get kind of upset because they see what's essentially like this terrible homebrew that just like beats you, and they don't see any way around it. And especially because Puca's Mischief or Pucatrade is like a prison style deck, so I'm just like locking you out from doing anything. And now especially you see Venser coming out, so if he plays another Vault Scourge, I'll just Detention Sphere the Vault Scourge. If he plays like something else, he probably thinks I have another capture spell, like another Oblivion Ring or something like that in my hand, just waiting for him to play it out. And if he does, it's likely that I'll pick one up, especially with Monastery Siege. It's very likely I'll pick another one up. It's kind of frustrating for my opponent, and they probably think that they should win with their so-called Tier 1 deck. Well, it is a Tier 1 deck, that's probably why they just disconnected, and now they're getting salty, or they've been salty and decided to make me wait. Well, anyways, so they stopped playing around 18 minutes. It's around 15 and a half minutes now. I'll come back in, whenever I get a message or whatever. I don't think my opponent's coming back, though, but anyways, we'll see what happens. Alright, so came back, went down to 11 minutes, and my opponent did not come back, as I suspected. We have another salty Affinity player. But anyways, there's the win. You can see the power of Pucatrade. It's, it's such a good deck in a way, especially against cheap decks like Affinity. It plays a lot of cheap creatures. It's particularly bad against like things like Tron, where they have giant creatures that we can't trade for, or against things like Burn, where they just don't play a lot of permanents. But against decks like this, it's actually kind of favored. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.